Oh, they feed like crazy.
A hungry caterpillar was released with fanfare last week on a wet and windy Kohala mountain.
Just see them feeding at night. They are active at night.
The Madagascan fireweed moth is the new weapon in the war against fireweed.
The last larval instar, they will feed like crazy on the leaves, defoliating the leaves.
A pretty but deadly plant with yellow daisy-like flowers, which has been spreading across Hawaii Island at an alarming rate.
Almost the summit of Mauna Kea. That's how widespread fireweed. So it goes from our highest mountains all the way down to the ocean.
The invasive plant is toxic to livestock, presenting a problem for the state's prime pasture lands.
It's a killer. It has toxins that really kill horses and cattle.
It's estimated that the weed has infested more than 850,000 acres, mainly on Maui and Hawaii Island.
It's called Synesia. It's related to a plant called tansy ragwort in the Pacific Northwest.
Dr. Tim Richards is the president of Kahua Ranch, where the first moths were released.
And what it does is it has a toxin called the pyrrolizidine alkaloid, which is a liver toxin. And as it goes through the body and through the liver, it damages the liver to a point where you see liver failure in these animals. More of a problem in horses and cattle, less of a problem in sheep and goats because they have the bacteria that actually detoxify some of the toxin in this plant.
He says the ranchers are solidly behind the biocontrol effort.
And we're very excited about it.
And I have to thank the ranchers for being so patient and helping us along.
It's believed that fireweed came to the islands in hydromulch material imported from Australia, where it is a serious pest.
83, 84, 85, someplace in that is when this was actually first discovered here.
Besides Hawaii, fireweed has spread through many parts of the world, killing animals in Australia, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, Uruguay, and Japan. The moth is the first biocontrol agent to be released against Madagascar fireweed in the world.
We are planning to release 1 million of that during this year.
It's taken more than 13 years to get to this point. Entomologists and researchers at the Hawaii Department of Agriculture literally search the world for a natural enemy of the weed that would be safe to release in Hawaii.
Very specific experiments to show that this insect is a natural enemy for the fireweed and is not going to attack any other thing except fireweed.
Doing much of the legwork, exploratory entomologist Dr. Mohsen Ramadan, who was present for the insect release on Kohala Mountain last week.
Well, it's a great and happy day for me to see my babies going in the field right now after more than 12 years of a study.
Ramadan traveled to Australia, South Africa, and Madagascar in 1999.
Remote areas like Iwatra, St. Louis, and Fordofan.
And returned with 14 insects and 1 fungus, all of which were researched and tested under quarantine conditions.
There are several other biocontrol agents that we are planning to release, but this is the first one that our department feels that it is specific enough to be released in Hawaii.
Some were found to be ineffective, while others were found to harm other native or beneficial plants. The most promising turned out to be the Madagascan fire moth, the larvae of which voraciously eats the leaves of fireweed.
They also feed on peeling the outer layer of the stems, killing the plant. We did very specific studies. There is a lot of this is family Asteraceae. There is a lot of endemic species, but our studies show that these insects will not feed on any other thing except members of the tribe of Senecio, which all these species in that tribe are considered weed here in Hawaii. So it will never feed on anything beside fireweed here in Hawaii.
The state approved the release of the moth 2 years ago, but the use of the insect also required a federal permit. Now, with all the approvals in place, the moth is being released and officials are stepping up production of the insect, which they say is easy to rear.
It's a very simple insect to rear, and this is one of the beauty of a successful biocontrol agent, that you can rear it with ease. That's why we were asking the ranchers to help us rear it, so they provide cages and rear it. And today we're releasing these by the buckets.
These movable containers will also help the moth to proliferate in its new home.
And then the cage can be moved to ensure that there's always good food and forage for the moths to get really healthy and strong. And some will be released along each during those phases of development. So we'll be able to build a population, get it out in the field, and get the numbers really high quickly.
It's believed that the moth will be only one aspect of the fireweed control.
It's going to take more than one single insect or disease to control this problem. And we have others that we're working on right now. And even then, it's not going to save us from having to do other types of management strategies.
The State Ag Department is also testing 4 other potential natural enemies of fireweed. Each one appears to attack different parts of the plant.
So it's going to be a real long-term process for us. It's been long as it is.
Darcy Oishi is the section chief of the Ag Department's biocontrol section.
If you look at how widespread fireweed is right now, it's a huge problem for the ranches, and without biocontrol, we'd have a few choices. There's the choice of doing nothing, and with the drought, fireweed really likes drought conditions. It comes back when a rain finally occurs really quickly.
There are also effective pesticides, but officials say it's expensive and impractical to use them across hundreds and thousands of acres.
If we want ranching to remain a part of Hawaiian life, if we want the Paniolo image to remain an icon for Hawaii, this needs to happen. And we've done everything we can to make sure this is a safe insect for release.
As we learned in September 2011, officials have big plans for biocontrol. The 13th annual Symposium on Biological Control of Weeds was held in Waikoloa.
It's a very interesting conference because all these folks have different experiences in different systems around the world with a lot of the same challenges, but a little bit different histories and different experiences. And that's a really key part of advancing the science and the practice of biocontrol, is sharing ideas.
So it's a sustainable solution, and it's not something that you're paying costs year after year after year, and that's the main advantage. But with biological control, this can get it way out into rangeland areas where you don't have that possibility.
The philosophy of fighting one invasive species by introducing another has gotten a poor response from Hawaii residents in the past.
But to bring in an insect, biological warfare, when people get right in the backyard that they use for home use, it's crazy.
As a former county council member, I am very disturbed that government agencies are going to do all this in spite of the huge public outcry against it.
The community was sent into an uproar over a plan to release a scale insect to diminish the vigor of strawberry guava, also called vivee.
So this is called, actually, it's like an eminent domain takeover, a taking of our vivee on our property without compensation, which is illegal.
Mr. Chair, there are 6 votes in favor.
Okay, resolution 80-09 passes.
The Hawaii County Council even passed a resolution resisting the plan to release the bug.
I am formally requesting that this EA be turned into an EIS, an environmental impact statement. The monetary and impacts of this release are so extreme that an EA, which is just a preliminary to an EIS, is not adequate.
Nonetheless, the environmental assessments were approved.
And I will assure you that if we pass this thing on today, they will go ahead and do as they damn well please.
Big Island Video News has learned that the scale insects have been quietly released, and that pending an initial review, another, more public release will be planned like the one for fireweed at Kahua Ranch. In light of the public resistance, state officials are quick to point out the successes that they say they've had with biocontrol. Since 1975, the Ag Department says it has released 51 biocontrol agents and all have been successful. They say none have been found to attack anything but the target pest or weed. The state also claims that the use of biocontrol has deep connections to Hawaiian culture. Ag officials say the Hawaiian Kingdom was a world leader in biocontrol with successful introduction of a beetle to control cottony cushion scale in 1890.
And they may well be under any leaf.
The state points to the more recent release of an insect to contain the spread of the stinging nettle caterpillar, a nasty creature that, unlike the fruitful strawberry guava plant, had no defenders on the island.
It's a family of caterpillars we've never had in Hawaii before, the slug caterpillar.
This is a nail, size of a nail.
Many of which have these urticating spines, which give you a very nasty reaction, causes intense itching, can go on for hours, days, weeks. Some people are more sensitive than others. Some get blisters, some get very swollen. Some people have had to go to emergency. So very differential reactions among the population. But virtually everyone reacts somehow, and it's usually at least intense itchiness.
Okay guys, get to work.
Big Island Video News documented the stinging nettle biocontrol release in June 2010, which was unopposed.
I'd like you to release some.
Our tea plants. We've tested this thing very thoroughly, and it's safe. It's only interested in this particular caterpillar. So they're kind of pretty. See the orange in the middle?
Oh, don't touch it.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it.
However, the public often points to the mongoose and the rat, the well-known cautionary tale about the less scientific introduction to Hawaii of the mongoose in order to control rats in the days of the sugar plantation. The control was a failure, and the mongoose has proliferated to become a nuisance themselves. The story of the mongoose and the rat makes modern-day officials cringe. They say it's unfair to compare it to today's tedious and careful processes.
You know, and I understand that totally, because of the past history. But the reality is, that's part of what we need to deal with and work with the public. And I think one thing that we're doing more of, and we've learned from the strawberry guava, is that we really need to be working more with the public from the beginning to let them know what we're doing, and to hear their concerns. And it may be things that we need to change. We need to address their concerns, or it may just be a matter of education. Maybe they're misinformed about what we're really doing. And I think that dialogue needs to be happening from the beginning.
The public has apprehensions about introducing foreign biological agents all around the world. That we run into our colleagues from around the world run into some of the same concerns we have here in Hawaii.
Take only pictures, leave only footprints and larvae.
According to my study, I said I spent 12 years studying that. There's a little bit nibbling here and there on other plants, but we consider that is only during no choice tests. But if you give them the choice, they will not feed on any other thing besides fireweed. They will only feed on fireweed. And this is my observations in Madagascar.
Meanwhile, Ramadan has continued his travels, looking for more potential biocontrols for fireweed and other pests, such as the coffee berry borer, small hive beetle, and the Protea mealybug.
Oh, I'd like to give a great mahalo for the people of Madagascar for sharing their wealth of natural resources with the state of Hawaii.